aka Gisa Shosvol. Hi Gisa. Hi and welcome to this pop-up radio today with us Beyond Beauty, Culture and Creativity in the New European Bauhaus. This is our pop-up radio, Gisa. Willkommen. I cannot hear you. Maybe you are muted on your Zoom.
Yes, hello, good morning from Vienna. Buenos dias, Victoria. Nice to see you and hear you, hopefully now.
Okay. Thank you very much for being with us today. So, Gisa, we are going to talk about many things, and as the song would say, many things, fools and kings. So, listen. As you know, this is the pop-up radio, and it is an initiative of Conexiones improbables. We are live here from Vitoria-Gasteiz in the north of Spain, in the Basque region, in the Basque country, as they would say. And the idea today is to tackle some lines that have been put together when the new European Bauhaus started in 2020, and it was an initiative by the European Commission led by Ursula von der Leyen. So we are going to host your voice together with another couple of speakers that are going to intervene with you. So we are going to wait for Michal Hladky from Creative Industry Košice, and Barbara Revelli from Elias, and she's the head of programs. But Gisa, I would like to start with you, because you are connected right now from Austria, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
and later we are going to speak about how we can put together communication and cultural politics in the frame of a region or a local authority, together with, and he's sitting here next to me, with Jorge Fernandez Leon, and he is also a very good connoisseur of what is happening in Austria, and particularly in Linz. So Gisa, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a bit more about you?
Yeah, Gisa Schosvol. I'm raised, born, and live in Austria, and I learned to be a lawyer. But in 2013, I really got passion to work in creative industries, and started with European projects in really supporting creative industries in entrepreneurial startups and skill development, and then very soon I really saw my role in really being a bridge between creative industries and sectors, cities, and really supporting with the help of creative industries and transforming, and I'm super happy now that we creative industries is now there where it should be in part of the innovation ecosystem, in really transforming in this weird times we're living, cities, the way we're living, the way we are communicating, the way we are really seeing optimistic and radically optimistic our future.
And as far as I remember your professional path, Gisa, you have been working on creative industries not only in projects that are involving cities, but also projects that are into the peri-urban area, rural area, mountainous area, and so on. So you have a lot to say about this. There are some projects on which you are working in this period, and I would like to ask you, through these projects, how do you think culture can empower citizens?
Yeah, I tried to give one example on Gropius, the way the staatliche Bauhaus Weimar did in really bringing architecture and crafts under one roof. And I think this project is very significant and very Yeah, good example on the way new Bauhaus should be. I'd like to speak about the transformative power of creativity and community in a very super rural region. It's in the picturesque village of Bad Goisen. Nobody will know, but I escape a little bit. I scope that it's really nestled in the very end of a valley next to the mountains, and this region is really bringing extraordinary initiatives in bringing people together through art and craft with the so-called Scala Art and Craft Lab. This lab was founded 24 years ago and is really fostering connection and collaboration by developing, on the one hand, exchange program for international, national, and regional craftspeoples and arts.
All right.
And what I'd like to say about it, it's really the close coordination with the local municipality. And Scala created really a vibrant hotspot meeting space where local communities, international impulses, as well as a central space of workshops, exhibition events, and creative experiments. And what I would say what they did is really this connection between doing things together with the hands.
Yeah,
And
because Giza, the idea is that culture, beyond artistic expression and production, and it is somehow the social fabric for our societies and communities and so on. So how this project working with hands can be an example of this culture being the software in a way of our society.
yeah. And yeah, this working with the hands is really, I think, crucial, working with hands, with materials and crafts. And I think what's important there and what I see in Diverse Project is really diving into this crafts DNA of a local community, because it's really a bridging moment between generations, between the old one. For instance, we had in this project a turning project. I think it's really old craft turning, and it inspired young people in learning this, and it was really intercultural communication hook, I would say, this working with the hands on old traditions, and also bringing perspective of culture and internationality in this project. And it was on my way a kind of really because I think the specificity of this area was it's really this hidden area in the very rural region with different kind of opinions, even with different religions, as it was historically the region where Protestants hid it in former times. So I think it was this binding moment, sharing haptic moments together.
So it means that back then Protestants used to go into this valley because it was far away and isolated, and they were safe because of it. Okay.
And even in the darkest time of our history, this was the valley where I think it was a lot of contradiction. And I think what art can do is really legitimate the vis-a-vis in discussions and debates and discussions, even if the person are coming really from another social background is the answer to and this binding moment of doing and working things together, and showing this beauty of diversity and not contradicting this diversity is for me the answer what art and culture can do.
I would like to introduce you also Michal Hladky, who is live now from Košice in Slovakia. Hi, Michal.
Hi.
So
Hello.
I'm going to introduce you into the conversation because I think that with Giza we are going in a place that it's not only a physical place but also a mental place, which is quite interesting. But first thing first, Michal, would you like to introduce yourself and tell to our audience who you are and what you are doing in Slovakia?
Yeah, hello. I'm a Michał Hladky. I'm a director of Creative Industry Košice. We are a legacy organization of the European Capital of Culture, and Košice was European Capital of Culture 2013, and now we are responsible for development and help to creative and culture sectors. We are also hosting EIT Culture Creativity Collocation Center East. So hopefully we'll support innovation in culture and creativity for further years as well in a wider region from Poland down to Bulgaria of an Eastern Europe. But we are also very well established in urban development and how culture could play a significant role or be a driver for urban development or let's say transformation. And we represent city in UNESCO Creative Cities Network in media arts. So that's also our domain, is bridging technologies and creativity and helping other sectors to understand what the creativity could bring on the innovation level.
All right. So just a note for our technicians: we are still missing Barbara Rivelli from this panel, and she's going to come. Yeah. Okay. So, Michal, we were talking with Giza about people running away. And I know that in Košice you have, unfortunately, some sort of experience in this sense because you are quite close to the border with Ukraine.
Yeah.
And I know that you do have some projects that you are running with refugees in your city.
Yeah, we had one really interesting and also connected to New European Bauhaus. We are the person Shigeru Ban, who's part of a high-level roundtable of New European Bauhaus, and he offered his patent or his design of using a paper or cardboard tubes for temporary shelters. So we used that, and we really helped to accommodate quite a lot of numbers of families and Ukrainian refugees here in Eastern Slovakia, using different venues, building those, let's say, cells to give them a bit of a privacy and opportunity to rest. And we also collaborated with the charities and other organizations from civic society to helping refugees. But we also run projects together or supported by Climate Kick, how to, let's say, accommodate refugees or people coming from a different cultures, let's say, to Košice, and how they can contribute to the either public discussion or transforming the public space, and how public spaces could be more inclusive in order to tackle this kind of issues, being migration or culture differences.
Yeah, and when we talk about inclusiveness, and this is the topic of our segment right now about creativity, inclusive creativity, Giza, I think you do have some lessons learned from your projects about what is inclusiveness, because we talk a lot about it, but then when it comes to the nitty-gritty, to the very end of concrete things, what is inclusiveness from your perspective, and what you have been learning so far with your projects in Austria?
Yeah, what for me inclusiveness is really legitimate the vis-a-vis as really with all their needs, with all their social backgrounds, and seeing the beauty of diversity.
Yeah.
I think it's a mind shift from in that sense. And yes, we discussed about Linz. I'm living in Linz, and Linz is really through this approach of Ars Electronica we had 40 years ago with really a handful of visionaries who really put the debate into the public space, how to deal with new technologies. I think it was the beginning of computers in the early 70s, and they said, okay, we have to deal how the human being can really see its role with the technological environment, and not seeing technological involvement and enhancement also as tool and methodology to support our lives, and really having inclusivity and the community and the well-being in the center of our thinking, and finding new words and meanings to technology. That changed not a little, changed tremendously the way we live together. And speaking with Gropius, our minds is like an umbrella. It functions best when it's open. That's I think a little bit the way we're living in my hometown.
And the umbrella metaphor is quite useful. We are going to use it later again. So, in the last session, the second event that we held here in Vitoria a couple of months ago, we had a researcher from the University of Edinburgh called Nicola Osborne, and she works on creative informatics. And she was saying that during COVID, it was quite a good time for inclusiveness, because as we were all at home, also people with different capacity, people that are on a wheelchair and so on, that have mobility issues, that you were actually able to live the same life that everybody else, thanks to technology. So it was also a good example for this. But I want to join to the conversation also Barbara Revelli, that I see connected. Hi, Barbara.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me.
So, Barbara, you work at Elia, and I would like for you to introduce what Elia is and what is your role for the audience that doesn't know you yet.
For sure. Actually, you gave me a great cue because you went to academia, and indeed Elia is a community, a network of university and academies. And we say we are globally connected by European born, and that's because, of course, we were born in 1990, and we represent, though, by now 54 countries. And our members are indeed universities and academies and conservatoires. So we bring together a great deal of diversity in terms of diversity of disciplines and also diversity of age and communities, because, of course, institutions don't talk, but people do. And universities are, of course, wonderfully populated by researchers and teachers and leaders, but also wonderful students.
Mm-hmm. So when you say conservatoire, you mean music schools?
That's right, because we really want to think of arts and culture in the broadest sense you can think of. So when we talk about arts, we really space from architecture to music to performing arts to creative writing. So you just name it. And we think that that is very important exactly because of what we are talking about, the importance of inclusiveness. And our aim is, of course, to break these invisible walls that are in between disciplines and in between sectors, because that is really what makes our society inclusive.
Do you have a project that can be an example of what you are proposing us today?
Well, of course, we have lots of projects and also activities that Elia does to empower the community, to empower our members. I will just quote a couple because, of course, I don't want to take too much time. I think in the frame of course, of what we're talking about, of the new European Bauhaus, and also what we were talking before about empowering different generation, we did a lot of work in that direction, and also in what it means, the so-called STEAM grouping. So how do we create connections between disciplines, also not inside the arts, but outside of the arts. So craft is one of the example of the project we are running still, and we made many more before, and that's very important when we want to empower indeed the creatives and the students in taking a role into society. And we really believe that that is very important, that this A of arts is included in the debate at a policy-making level, but also in our society. And another one I would like to quote is cyanotypes, because That's a key project where we are also making a shift in thinking education in terms of, again, silos and bringing it back to the root of it, which is the skills. What are the skills and the competencies that creatives have? And on the base of that, rethink education. And when I talk of education, of course, it's education at large. How can we think of the skills and the competencies? And, creative thinking is one of them, critical thinking as well. And this is what we do to empower our communities.
So tell us a little bit more about cyanotype. What is this about? Really concretely, specifically, what is the project? People meeting people, doing what?
Yes, people meeting people learning from each other. A lot of what we do is indeed peer-to-peer learning. And there is a lot of knowledge, not only in academia, but also in vocational education and also in the small businesses. And what we do is create a framework for people indeed to rethink what we know and what we should be learning. So how we learn. So we're creating a framework of skills which will allow anyone to apply it, whether indeed they are a small business or in academia, and applying this framework to rethink indeed education. And again, education not only for the students, but really in terms of what it's called lifelong learning. Also for us professional, what are the skills that I need to improve myself and to do the work in the future? And I think this is crucial when we think of the challenges that we have in society, when we talk about inclusiveness, and also when we talk about, of course, the green transition. And in practical terms, what we're doing is connecting academia with vocational education and the businesses, and indeed giving them tools so that they can do work with their own hands, with also gamification tools. So we are organizing lots of workshops and sessions so that they can take it into practice. And of course, the main event we are organizing is the Creative Skills Week. We already had 2 editions in the past, in Vienna in 2023, and here in Amsterdam, where I am based this year in 2024. And we are going to host the Creative Skills Week in Prague in 2025 in September. So this is also a bit of an invite to everybody to keep an eye on that and join us.
So Elia is about arts education and about youngsters. Can I say that? Mainly, of course, mainly. And when we talk about inclusiveness, of course, we think about bringing to the conversation people that didn't participate to the conversation so far. We have been spending many years saying how young people should participate, how they need to have a voice and raise a voice. And now that sometimes they do it, we have people saying, oh no, this is woke ideology, so we don't want that kind of voice. So I think it's a little bit contradictory in a way, because we wanted young people to participate to the conversation, and now they do it, some of them with this kind of items on the table. Well, actually we don't like how they do it and what they say, so we don't want to hear them. So how do you see all this participation of youngsters at Elia?
I think it's a great point. We do indeed work on intergenerational exchange because, of course, again, as I said, we work with students and also with academics, and maybe academics are not always so young. But I think what the point you're making is crucial and very important to us. We think academia should be the place where to create this difficult conversation, to create the space for difficult conversation and to nurture this critical thinking and this ability for older or younger generation to have an exchange and to grow together, to learn from each other. And we also believe that that would be the base for it, to create a more inclusive society. And we also think and we advocate for this concept of having arts. And again, when I talk arts, I'm not talking fine arts, I'm talking arts in general. And culture. To have arts has a core value of our society, arts for everyone. Because the reality is that as much as we want to nurture, we are nurturing a society that is as inclusive as possible. The reality is also that nowadays arts is not for everyone. We wish that our future would be that art is a core element of education from elementary education and is as important and as it is mathematics. And I think in the future, this will be even more important because as we talked about, right, technology, we also know that this way of thinking, this critical thinking, will be more and more important in the future. And art has the power to do that and also to keep us healthy, mentally healthy.
Let's check if it's true also in Košice, in Slovakia. Michal Hladky, director of CIKE. So, Michal, how do you make sure that inclusiveness is not just a nice word in your projects?
Well, here I can mention one very specific project,
Please.
which is called Youth for Bauhaus. It was really, really beautiful reaction on how European Bauhaus could cascade down to earth and urban planning, and how we can really engage youngsters and kids from secondary schools, and also kids with disabilities or specific conditions like autism or hearing disabilities, using technology, using Minecraft and its education platforms.
When you say Minecraft, you mean the
the
game?
The software,
Okay.
the worlds of Minecraft, helping them to build their visions for the cities. And specifically, we were full partners, Romania, Belgium, Portugal, and Slovakia. So all the kids could react to their own conditions with one specific element, which was a river. And they were imagining redevelopment and transformation of their cities, but we also were really working for the, let's say, teachers, elderlies, and those people who are in charge of their education and their development, how they can use a technology as a Minecraft to connect them, kids, and give them voice in urban planning. So we were bridging their ideas to the ideas of main architects or architectural departments on the municipalities, and also giving them opportunity to really play with the different aspects of the city or society.
So,
And we also build let's say, a methodology how to include and make this process very inclusive. This means how to enable those youngsters with the specific conditions or needs. They can also join, and their voices could be heard as well.
So what you have been learning so far by executing, by implementing this project, Youth for Bauhaus?
That it's really, really, like, the tool was fantastic because it's more like a creating worlds, and it's I wouldn't call it the gamification, but it's a specific tool for them to co-create, because they all can join in one environment and they can do whatever they want. And also in terms of presenting and explaining, it's very tangible. So those people on the other side, being urban planners or let's say decision makers, or people who then follow up on those ideas, could really see, and the language came became a common, because there is a model, there is a visualization, there's something which can be translated to really a real world.
So this was a multi-partner project, a cooperation project, but how your target group, how people reacted in Košice, in Slovakia, to this initiative?
Yeah, we collaborated with one specific school, which is focused on civil engineering and what is it, geodesy. So and super, I would say it was an accident, was that it happened in the time when city was preparing its master plan. So the office of the main architect was very receptive and really happy that they can come and present what they're planning and also to hear what kids really think. And another layer was that those meetings or those getting together were international, so they could get also, let's say, feedback or reactions from the kids from other countries that made it really interesting mix.
All right. So Giza, you are listening to these contributions by Barbara Rivelli and Michal Hladky. So it seems that there is a thread about technology. You were mentioning Ars Electronica before. So would you go in the same direction? Do you think that actually to make creativity inclusive, technology is the best option, or do you have other ingredients beyond the technology?
Yeah, and it just reflecting what Barbara and Michael said, I think I was reflecting that the skills discussion, because I think skills, thinking about the vis-a-vis skills and not about their color, their race, but the competence, a person sitting next to me, I think that's the inclusive way, and it makes our society inclusive because everybody has a skill to share, and if we're doing it via technology, via the Minecraft game, or via, as explained in the project before, via a craft or a binding object, I think that's it helps us to transform. And I see technology also as a kind of tool that supports us in transformation. And what's the power of art and the power of the creative sector is really giving meaning to us, to the humans and to the nature with this technology, and translating it. And translation is, I think, a really important, translating the technologies and the tools we have and supporting our lives into the context we are living in.
Absolutely. So, Barbara, we were saying that we need some sort of how to say perspective, because Elia was born like 40 years ago, 30.
Almost 1990.
Yeah,
Indeed.
and you said, well, if you are still here, it is because we haven't accomplished our mission yet, in a way. So my question is, and this is the link for our later conversation with Jorge Fernandez Leon, who is speaking about the coherence between the narrative and the operational on the ground. So my question for you, Barbara, who well, you have a very privileged point of view. Do we really want what we say we want? When we say that we want something, when we say that we want inclusiveness, are we actually working for it, or is just like a gadget just to make pretty, as the title of our conversation today, Beyond Beauty, Culture and Creativity in the New European Bauhaus?
Yeah, it's a very good question. I think the key is in what Giza just said, right? I mean, the power of the arts is to imagine society. The powers of the arts is to make sense of our life. And I think that's why, right, the creatives and the artists should have a bit more of a say in when we talk about inclusivity and when we take decisions. And indeed, what I told you was that when we looked back at the mission of Elia in 1990, was very much about creating this community, creating connections. And of course, the wish was that at a certain point that would not be necessary anymore, right? That arts and education would be the central pillar of our society. And unfortunately, I agree with you as much as very often right? Politicians say that they want that. That is still the first thing they cut when they go to a budget. They first cut arts, education, and health funds very often. So I think it is important that we stay strong and keeping these connections. And that is very much what Elia has still as a mission of creating as many connections as possible in arts and culture and education, so that we can keep on being concrete and make this vision for the future we really want, and not just say that we want it.
And I think Michal Hladkin, as director of CICA, has quite an experience of navigating political changes and acceleration. Michal, how do you build a stronger consensus for local cultural policy beyond political changes that can survive any kind of political change? Because I think that you have a good point of view on this.
Well, I can speak from our perspective.
Absolutely.
It's the best way is to keep in consistent work, which, let's say, compound the results. So the politician then can't really deny that its impact. So like in our case, of course, the physical infrastructure is something really important, because then citizens can really touch what, for instance, the European Capital of Culture has brought. But then what's super important is that you fill these infrastructure buildings, whatever we call it, like public spaces, with real life. And not just animating, but you open it for those who really create, and you create a framework which then accommodate different kind of, let's say, organizations, individuals, and events. And it really becomes self-evident that, like in case of Košice, this really brought a lot of positive feedback at the end. People, at the beginning, it was really doubt, and it was really hard to, let's say, work and pursue with the politicians. But then since the first results came in, then they really understood that for their, let's say, political capital is really available narrative. And this brought us really wider space to continue. So after 2013, we became an organization, not like, okay, we can refer to many European Capital of Culture projects which just ended with a year, but we became a really legacy-oriented organization to really keep the torch and go further in time. And now we really represent city in UNESCO Creative Cities Network. We open up a new networks and possibilities for our creatives, artists, companies, bring a lot of international collaborations to the city, and really step into cross-sectorial collaborations, for instance, which means bringing culture creativity together with other sectors, introducing innovation, introducing, let's say, different kinds of thinking, connections, those serendipities which otherwise wouldn't happen. And culture and creativity really opens the eyes of other sectors in many cases, in the way how to treat your employees, how to build your employer brand. Being a cool company, that's one thing, but the other one is how you communicate with other partners. And that's all which art and culture can teach other sectors, for instance. Not only technological innovations are important, but what's super important is the social innovation, or those innovations driven by culture, for the culture in companies, for instance, or for the cultures, how companies treat other environments, or how companies could, let's say, address the green transition, or SDGs, or CSR programs, or many others. So that's really a value. And also this comes with the time. So you learn as you go, and it takes some time.
So Giza, of course, thank you, Michal, because I think that it's really about having a core of values that are really shared and untouchable in a way, and this is also brought to the idea of local politicians and national politicians by the fact of proving and demonstrating and building momentum and working in cooperation. So Giza, I know that you are also working on another program, which is Erasmus for Young Entrepreneurs, if I'm not mistaken, which is another way, well, it's not only about youngsters, because when we say young entrepreneurs, actually we mean people that are starting an enterprise for the first time, even if they are 60-year-old, but mainly it is addressed to the younger generation. So do you think that we can do something for the inclusion of young creative professionals in the market? Because later we are going to have with us Oyane Sanchez Duro, who is an artist here in Spain, and she has something to say about inclusiveness and the precarious condition of cultural workers. So in your perspective, Giza, do you have some good news, some good example to share about inclusiveness?
Yeah. By the way, coincidentally, this Erasmus for Young Entrepreneurs was the first cooperation project between Conexiones, improbables, Michal and me 10 years ago, and now we're starting a new round.
Kudos to that.
I think this is really a good program and frame from European Commission, bringing young entrepreneurs with their aspirations into another cultural background, into another cultural country for a limited time period, and building long-term bridges. And out of this 10 years experience, I think there's really long-term bridging. It's really needs small momentum, small kick-off, small lightning of fire, and really setting up long-term cooperation as well as learning from each other moments. And I think that's inclusiveness. And speaking about this process, we see really a transformation of society into from the scale-up orientation in an impact-up orientation, where we really see on the first, and I think this young generation is learning, even experienced entrepreneurs, not to having this quick scale-up economic values, but this impact-up values in their business plans.
All right. So we take note of that, and I'm going to take advantage of this moment for thank you all to thank our audience that is following us on Zoom live, of course, beyond our audience here in the room in Vitoria-Gasteiz for this pop-up radio today's session, Beyond Beauty, Culture and Creativity in the New European Bauhaus, which is part of a series of conversations called What Would Gropius Do a Century Later? So I'm going to thank Barbara Revelli from Elia and Michal Hladky, director of Zike from Slovakia, and Giza Schosvoll, who is connected with us from Austria. So thank you very much. We are going to, I hope to see you very soon in another venue maybe, and thank you for your contribution. We are going to take all your ideas and put them here on the table in Vitoria-Gasteiz at Hybrida Lab. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.